What's up, guys? Iron Books here, and I'm going to be starting a new series because, as you guys know, I finished iRobot maybe a week or two ago, but now I have a new book on my list that I want to get out the way, mostly because I wasn't able to get a couple books for this month of October. I was only able to get one book due to me not being paid as good of a paycheck this time around. Anyways, because of that, I didn't want to continue with the series just because, continue with the iRobot series, just because I didn't want to finish the second book that is extremely short. And not only it being extremely short and not having a book for the entire month, also, I don't want to read the second book and want more, because as you guys know, the first book was really good, but not amazing. And so I don't want to potentially read the second book, it be amazing, and then I have nothing to read, right? And so I decided to go for a one-off book by Guy Gabriel Kay, The Lions of Al-Rassan. I think I have had bad expectations when it comes to this book. What are my overall thoughts so far? I am on part 2 of the story, page 99 of the story, and so far I haven't been enjoying it as much as I thought I would. And I think this is all due to me being way too overhyped by booktubers, specifically to the Ramble, which, watch them guys, they're an amazing booktube channel. They're kind of the reason I kept on reading in my adult years. But they went on about this book, especially in terms of the prose, basically saying that it was picture perfect, it's fucking amazing, just everything, all of the above, right? That it's complete masterpiece, it's a classic, blah, 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 blah. And I've read the first part so far, so I haven't read the whole thing yet. So that might be a little bit of a bias there. It hasn't wowed me so far. And the prose seems basic to me. It doesn't seem, what do you call it, super philosophical, super just makes you think a lot. It doesn't really make me think a lot. I've had a lot of really angry thoughts when it comes to this book so far, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but overall, guys, I mean, it's been okay so far. And I almost DNF'd in one part of the book that I'll talk about shortly. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started on the notes. First things first is that we get introduced to, what's his name? Hold on, I need to remember his name. He hasn't been as prominent. Ammar ibn Khayran. I read the prologue, by the way. And in the prologue, he is seen killing one of the last Wajiz, right? One of the last lions of Al-Rassan, the Caliphates. One of the last Caliphates. Reason being, the ruler of the city that they are in, Kartada, said that the Caliphate that he basically killed wasn't anointed the proper way, which Ammar does admit was the case. Though we do get another hint that he's been killing a lot of different caliphates, even killing a child prophet that was said to be another caliphate. And so immediately hands-on, Ammar ibn Khayran is a gray character. Immediately, maybe even a dark character. In my opinion, a dark character, especially in terms of killing a freaking child. I don't give a shit if it's some political move. I mean, it's a fucking child. That's my opinion, though. Anyways, so that is the introduction to the story. And I'll start off by saying this is kind of the same thing that happened with me in Hyperion, where in the beginning of the book, I'm recalibrating my thoughts. I have to remember all of these names, remember all of these people, remember all of these places. And it took me a while. It took me a good 40, 50 pages to continuously remember who was who in the story, continuously remember what group of people was which group of people. So it was a little bit hard, and the terminology every now and then kind of confused me. Same thing with Hyperion, right? And I think there's another thing too. I think I am a person who does not like high fantasy or high sci-fi. I think I'm someone who likes light fantasy and light sci-fi. It seems to be the case, because every single time I go to these super complicated things, like the first book of Dune, Hyperion, let's see, iRobot, what else? I'm trying to think of something else. Even little bits of the Emperor's Soul. When stuff is being described in such a descriptive way, so many descriptions, so many groups of people, so many names, I just get lost. Is that because I'm a dumbass? Probably. But I just didn't enjoy it as much. And it was the same thing here, where it took me a little bit of a while to remember everybody's name. I even forgot Amar's name. That's how not good I am at memorization. I think I just liked stuff that's a lot less about the world building and more about the prose and more about the characters. I think I'm very much a character prose driven reader so far, which is probably why I love the Green Creek novels so much, right? They're all character, all prose. That's all those books are. And yeah, so I think that's what I actually enjoy more and more, because I did not particularly enjoy many parts of this book. Then again, I'm still at the first part. I'm still only 100 pages in. So, anyways, let me keep on going. Then we go to the first perspective of the book, which is Jahane, a woman of a specific faith. I'm trying to say which one was it. Kindath, yes. Jahane is a doctor, a daughter of a doctor as well, of a group of people of the Kindath faith. Very much an allegory for the Jewish people. Basically caught in between the sides of the Jedites, which are very much just the Europeans, and the Amorites, which are very much just the Muslims. Jahane, as we get introduced to her, she is an older woman, which you were told later on in the story, which kind of surprised me. To me, she is written as a very young character, but later on in the book, she's described as being in her 30s. I don't really see that. She's a very immature 30-year-old. In my opinion. Anyways, eventually, Amar ibn Kairan goes up to Jahane while she's basically having a line for patients that she is treating. Amar ibn Kairan gathers up Jahane and her servant Velaz, a prior slave that, for some reason... Oh, and by the way, this is another part of the book too. It's described for Velaz choosing the Kindath fate after being released from slavery from Jahane and her family. I find that a bit icky. It reminds me very much of the African Americans in our country, where they're kind of brainwashed into the religion that they believe in, that a lot of people believe in, a lot of African Americans believe in, very strongly too. It gives me an icky feeling of the conqueror and the conquered. You know what I mean? And it kind of paints this sort of light of, oh, how noble you let this guy free after a decade. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was a slave. You should have let him go as soon as you got him. The fuck do you mean? I don't know. Just kind of pissed me off the wrong way. Anyways, Amar ibn Kairan goes up to Jahane and her servant to look to Ibn Musa's... Sorry, let me restart again. Amar gathers Jahane and her servant Velaz to go to the residence of Ibn Musa. Ibn Musa is a merchant. Now, what is the significance of this? Amar wants Jahane to basically say that Ibn Musa can leave and go to the prince's presence. The prince has been gathering up all of the merchants to visit him. What is the purpose? Mostly to kill them, which the prince didn't even know in the first place. The leader of the entire city of Kartana wanted all of the basically high-born noble competition in terms of merchants to be slain. And what's an easy way to do this? Have them all come up to pay homage to the prince. They all go up to the prince, and one by one, they are slain by the Muwardis. The Muwardis. The Muwardis. The Muwardis. Muwardis. Sorry, guys. Who are basically the Muslims in this story. And so, not Kindath. Jahane eventually reaches to Ibn Musa's place, and Ibn Musa has been handling some pretty nasty business in terms of kidney stones, and he was passing one as Jahane came there. And Jahane said, basically forbade him to leave and go to the prince's presence. Of which Amar, the killer from before, who killed the previous caliphates, the leaders of the city beforehand, found this quite amusing, and eventually left and let them be. And then we get very much a flirtatious vibe between the two, Jahane and Amar. I really dislike it. I do not fucking like it at all. Mostly because Amar is a fucking scumbag. He's a scumbag. So far in the story, right? Unless he gets ultra redeemed later on, I'm still not going to forget that he killed a child. I mean, it is what it is, right? And then I was super surprised by the merchants as they came in to be in the prince's presence, gained off one by one by the Muardis. I was very surprised. A pretty nice shock, though very brutal, man. It was kind of like a game scenario where it's like, kind of like the Groundhog game where you hit him on the head. The same thing with the merchants, each one by one coming through the stairway, and then just get fucking offed. Decapitate each one by one. And they were just piling on the bodies to the point where birds were circling in the sky. Crazy imagery, though the prose was not impressive. I'll say that. And like I said, the reason why all of these merchants were killed was due to political reasons, not wanting people in power during the leader Al-Malik, the Lion of Kartada, not wanting any competition in terms of leadership. Hold on, guys, I need to look. Okay. And we go to the other perspective, which is Alvar de Bellino, who is a Jedi. Kind of funny, sounds very similar to Jedi, but anyways, who is a Jedi, basically the Europeans of the story. And he is now in the company of Captain Rodrigo and his lieutenant Lane Nunez. They're a kind of a horseman band, so to speak. And the reason why Alvar is with them is to go to Kartada to receive some payments. The leaders of each country, of the Jedi country and the Kartada, receiving payments back and forth to basically keep up appearances and to protect them. Alvar is a young man that has definitely not seen the horrors of war. It's very apparent. He's a very innocent person. And eventually gets caught up in between some political schemes. How is he caught up? Well, he was pissing beside a wagon when Captain Rodrigo and kind of an adversary, probably the main bad guy. Hold on, the main bad guy. Sorry guys, I need to make sure I know. Gonzalez de Rada, who I think is going to be the main bad guy of the story. He eventually gets spied upon by both of them. The captain and de Rada were having a conversation about specifically de Rada's sibling, who has been raiding places in the no man's land in between the country where the Jedites are and Kartada. Captain Rodrigo basically says, hey, tell your brother to fuck off or we'll kill him. Basic premise. But de Rada wasn't going to do anything about it because of Alvar being a witness to this little scheming, which Rodrigo set up because he heard them. Little stuff, not too heavy. And so we cut back to Jehane. Not a lot happened with Alvar. It was a lot of setup. Again, this first part was a lot of setup for each of the characters' perspectives, because I assume it's going to always be Jehane's perspective and Alvar's perspective, and maybe Hussar Ibn's perspective, Musa's perspective. Maybe. I don't see him lasting very long though, but anyways, we go back to Hussar Ibn Musa, where he is already past the kidney stone. Amar comes back and basically says that he is going to spare Hussar Ibn Musa. And then we get some more flirtatious stuff between Jehane and Amar. I don't like it. Like I said, it felt very forced to me. It was just very fucking weird between two adults. And I just don't like the fact that this child killer is talking to Jehane, who is so far the most ethical and moral person here. I said what I said. Oh, well, actually, I'll skip this. But basically, since Amar spared Ibn Musa, Jehane and Ibn Musa, Jehane is now going to take Ibn Musa, who is going to be hunted down by the leader of Kartada, to the Kindaf district. Why? To basically disguise him so that she could save him, right? Because her whole purpose, which she talks about with her father as well, is to save people. They are doctors, right? Takes him back to the Kindaf district, where Jehane goes up to talk to her father. Now, her father is who I thought was dead this entire time, is not actually dead. He is a mutilated man now. Because the Asherites are a Muslim-type society, the women are not meant to be looked upon in terms of bare skin. Jehane's father, who had to do a C-section on Al-Malik, the leader of Kartada's wife, because the birth was going to be difficult, had his eyes basically cut the fuck out because he looked upon his wife's naked body, even though it was to save the child's life. Crazy shit that I was not really expecting. And the way that the text is put out, a lot of the surprising things in the prose are very snappy. They hit very fast and hard. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck did I just read? For instance, this is after Jahane's father saves the child through a C-section. For this act of courage and skill, on a scale never before known, Al-Malik of Kartada had gratefully offered a quantity of gold and a gift of property, such as to leave Ishak, Jahane's father, and his wife and daughter secure for the rest of their lives. Then he had ordered the physician's eyes put out and his tongue cut off at the root, that the forbidden sight of an Asherite woman's nakedness be atoned for, that no man might ever hear a description of Zabira's milk-white splendor from the Kindath doctor who had exposed her to this cold glance and his scalpel. Hits you with a fucking whammy, dude. Tongue cut off? Eyes cut off? Because he saved your fucking wife? And just because he saw the naked body? Crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. That seems to be very similar to Muslim culture, right? It's basically, I'll even show you the map real quick. It's basically just medieval Spain, but an alternate reality. Let me show you the map. I mean, look at this shit. Don't tell me that this shit ain't Spain. A little bit below is Africa, and a little bit above is the rest of Europe. Don't tell me. It's basically the exact same thing, which is very funny because a lot of people say, it's not even fantasy because of the whole it being fucking Spain thing. Eventually, we get Ammar ibn Khairan going up to Jahane's place, where we find out that Ammar knew Jahane's father, Ishak. They talk for a little bit. Ammar basically saying, why are you such a good person to Ishak? And Ishak saying, fuck off, basically. Well, I'm just kidding. But that he was good because he wanted to be good, right? Which is a very nice message. Ammar leaves, not without kissing Jahane, and Jahane kissing him back. Again, I don't like the romance. It seems very forced. It's fucking disgusting, in my opinion. It is what it is. And then we get to an interesting part where Jahane and Ibn Musa are escaping Kartada. They eventually go to the horror slums, basically outside the city, where they meet a woman named Jacinto, who is actually 14 years old and is not a woman at all. She is a child, but she is a whore as well. Very sad, very disgusting. So far, it's a very sad story, especially with stuff that happens after this point. Very sad stuff, man. Very sad stuff. We eventually get to one of the inciting incidents where Alvar and his gang and his band of horse soldiers get to the outside of Kartada, while Jahane and Ibn Musa get to their camp as well. They both realize, both groups, that a village is being sacked and overrun by other Jedis. We get some of the most horrific descriptions, disgusting description in this book. I might even read it out. I almost DNF'd after reading this part because I was just so disgusted by what I was reading. I had a visceral dropping of my stomach, like a ugh reaction to this part. The village is being overrun, and one of the villager men died, while his wife and children remain in the shed. Here we go. He was the first man to die, trying to knock an arrow with shaking hands as a screaming rider bore down upon him. The horseman's pipe took Aram in the chest and carried him into the wall of his own home. His wife unwisely screamed from inside. The horseman, hearing that, leaped from his mount and strode into the tiny house. He was already unbuckling his belt as he dug through the low door. Fucking disgusting. And then we get an even crazier description. Ziri ibn Aram, who is the child of the father that was killed and the mother that is basically being raped, here we go with a sentence. He was spared seeing his father die, nor had he observed the horseman striding into the home where his pregnant mother and sisters were. Ziri was 14 years old. He would have tried to kill the man with his hands. He would have died, of course. Disgusting stuff that almost made me DNF immediately. I hate reading shit that has sexual assault, that has basically very immoral and uncomfortable topics. When I read this, man, it was really fucking disgusting to me. And I don't know why people will find this, well, I don't even know if people find this part enjoyable. Of course they don't. It's not meant to be enjoyable. It's very much written to not be meant to be enjoyed. But I hear so much praise from this book. That is this amazing prose and characters. All I'm seeing is basic characters who experience horrific things, man. I mean, this shit's disgusting. A pregnant mother being raped. I mean, what the fuck is that? Crazy stuff. Eventually, Alvar and his gang of horsemen, the Captain Rodrigo's horsemen to be exact, come by, save the village, kill the Jedites that were invading that village. And then we get an even greater description of what was described before in the raid, where Jehane is talking about what the fuck happened to that pregnant woman, speaking to Captain Rodrigo and the man who did it. Here is the passage where it was described. This man raped the mother of these children, near to term with another child. Then he put his sword inside her, up inside her, and ripped it out and left her to bleed to death. When I arrived, the child had already spilled out of the wound. Its head had been almost severed by the sword before it was born. What the fuck is that description? I don't want to read that shit. That's fucking sad. That's fucking disgusting. I don't know what to say besides how fucking horrible. How horrible is that shit? And then we get some nice little philosophy here, where Captain Rodrigo is basically replying to this accusation. Give boy your sword, Alvar. This we will not accept. Not in a village Valadans are bound to defend. And Jehane, in her thought process, responds with this. Where would you accept it? Jehane wanted to demand, but kept silent. She was suddenly afraid. Where would you accept this fucking behavior? It's disgusting. The man should fucking die. What the fuck? Who has even the thought process of doing that shit? Horrific stuff. Eventually, the son of the mother kills the man, where Jehane is like, oh, I caused this death. Oh, I caused another death by the son killing the man that did the thing to the woman. No, he deserved it. Point blank and simple, he deserved it. Then we get some other descriptions of Jehane saying that Captain Rodrigo is probably a man that would also do the same thing in different circumstances. I hope not. I hope I'll never see in the book. I hope it's never described to the degree that it was described in this part. Very disgusting stuff, and I don't want to read it again. So let's see if that's going to continue happening throughout this book, right? I hope not. I hope we don't get any more horrific scenes like this. But who the fuck knows, right? Everybody's a great character here, except for like Alvar and Jehane. And then we get some perspective of Alvar talking about how basically he's no longer a child anymore, seen all of these horrific things, killed his first man, just doing a practice swing that he practiced for all of his life. Crazy stuff. And then this one thing where I consider religion to be extremely hypocritical because of Alvar thinking back to what one of his religious figures, a older ruler of the Jedi, said about Jehane's Kindath lineage, where the older ruler said that the Kindath were animals to be hunted down and burned from the face of the earth. And the reason why Alvar says this and contends with that fact is because he is already very smitten and in love with Jehane. What do you do with these two informations? One side, who is someone who shares your faith, talks about this other group of people who you like one person of, says they should be killed and burned to the ground. And yet, you're infatuated with this person. Difficult stuff to be had here. Religion is full of hypocrisy. I said it. And yeah, that was pretty much the first part of the story. Am I enjoying it? No. Especially that one horrific part. Will I continue reading it? Of course. I have nothing else to read. I just hope we get some good moments. Get some good deeds going on throughout the story. I hope we get some nice little moral battles here and there. I'm very much looking forward to Alvar's development. I hope he becomes a supreme being of morality. Because I don't think Jahane will be. So I'm looking out for Alvar, hoping he's a sort of Aragorn of the story. I hope he does some great things. Looking forward to see what the fuck happens. So yeah, guys, my first part of my review, already basically a quarter or a fifth way through, of Guy Gavriel Kay's The Lions of Al-Rassan. So I'll see you guys next time. Please comment, please subscribe. I'll tell you guys about the next part of the story.